Hello everyone, how's it going? In this video, we're going to talk about Lucid trading under the ticker symbol LCID. It has been one of the most speculated stocks in the Nasdaq. Some have said that it could be the next Tesla, while others believe that it's just going to be a giant bubble about to burst. Lucid is one of the few companies that has an actual product rolled out. And as time went on, the stock price action, along with investors' hope, went through a lot of roller coasters, and some are still wondering if this is a bandwagon that they want to hop on. In this video, we're going to look at Lucid and to see if the stock still deserves to have a place in our portfolio. If you appreciate my content, please consider to drop a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Also, please check out the links down in the description section, as every help is greatly appreciated. So over the past few days, we've definitely seen a massive gain in interest and also in price action for Lucid, mainly because there are persistent rumors, and I think there are more than rumors at this point, that Lucid might be bought out and to become private. So this has definitely triggered a lot of people piling in, thinking that, well, this is either their payday stock for 2023, or this is going to be their exit. Personally, I would say that if this news is true, then we're definitely heading for an exit, and this time it's going to be in the short term. On the other hand, would I necessarily think that this is a great opportunity for a lot of gains? There will be definitely some excellent opportunities for gains. Like, for example, if you've bought in at around $10, then yeah, obviously you've almost doubled your money last week. Now, the question is this tendency going to continue? In my opinion, as long as nothing is for certain, in other words, people haven't started to sell the news, then yes, this momentum is expected to continue, despite the pullbacks, despite the hesitation or pauses that are marked by the bulls. So with all that being said, I personally would think that the outlook over the next few weeks is definitely going to be very volatile and more likely to be upward than downward. Lucid Motors, also known as Lucid Group, is an EV manufacturer poised to shake up the industry with a cutting-edge technology and its sleek designs. It definitely stands out with its advanced battery technology, designs, and commitment for long-term sustainability. One of the key differentiators is the battery technology. Lucid Air has significantly longer range and faster charging time. Another reason might be where the company is or who created it where that actually matters. So previously, before Lucid became public, many people were saying that the next Tesla might be NIO. However, due to regulatory and also distance issues, I would say that many people were worried that their investments may not have the best oversight. I'm not saying that SEC is perfect, but comparing to something that is right under their nose versus having to travel half the globe in order to find the operations and the market sales and so on, Lucid would present a more safer option compared to NIO. And this is what also prompted many people to focus their attention and, more importantly, their capital on Lucid. If we look at the long-term tendencies of Lucid price action, it's not hard to see that a bubble that gave so much hope back in 2020 now bursted. The market no longer wants to blindly follow the hype, because on one hand, it cannot persist on believing that the bull market, based on purely assumptions, can continue like this. On the other hand, it simply cannot afford to sustain this trend when so many obvious issues, like supply chain issues, doubts on flagship companies, doubts on demand, the end of subsidies in many key markets, the conflicts around the world, and higher interest rates attracting the capital, have been plaguing the financial system as well as the real fundamentals out there. The market has long predicted that there will be a bearish market after such a prolonged bull market, and that most stakeholders believe that it's going to be a rough patch for at least a couple of years. The market peaked twice in the past, and if the first peak was caused by pure hype, the second one was then triggered by the rollout of actual products. Lucid remains one of the more solid companies in the sector and has kept its investment value or potentials for the years to come. The main question in everyone's mind is when should they enter in the stock? The long grind to lower price levels is likely going to continue, or at least the tendency may be there. But when we look at where it might lead the stock to, sometimes they can go to surprising levels. For example, I personally don't consider that Hyliion, another EV truck manufacturer that has also made the headlines back in 2020, deserves the price that it has now. Nevertheless, the sell-off continued for years without an actual reason other than people have lost confidence and or trust and or patience with it. So the same thing could happen with many other players in the EV sector. There is no fundamental phenomenon or reasons to support those sell-offs, but at some point it also doesn't have to matter, because they simply have to believe that there will be no new money to pour in the EV sector for the shareholders to eventually lose hope and trust and patience. In terms of the financials, Lucid had a strong financial performance in 2022. The company reported revenues close to $200 million in Q3 of 2022, which is a significant increase from just above $200,000 in Q3 of 2021. That strong growth was driven mainly by the launch of Lucid Air, the company's first vehicle, which began deliveries in late 2021. Lucid Air is a luxury electric sedan well received by the consumers and also helped the company to establish its reputation as a major player in the sector. Currently, Lucid has a negative net income caused by the fixed costs and other operating expenses that should be absorbed as the volume picks up. Overall, I would say that Lucid's financial figures paint a good picture about the company, but it's also demonstrating that Lucid is lacking a little bit of discipline in terms of cost control. Nevertheless, I would say that in the years to come, they would still focus on growth rather than cost control. Now, let's also talk about the shareholder composition of Lucid, because it is something that it's quite important to determine if the company is better for trading or investing. Lucid is currently held by institutional buyers for the most part, by more than 70% of the total volume. This would suggest that the price volatility may be lower than other stocks held mainly in the hands of retail traders. One key behavioral difference between institutional and retail traders is their horizon. Institutionals tend to have a longer-term view, which focuses on the company's fundamentals and the years to come when it's not the decades to come. They're also less likely to just jump in and out of a share because they can afford to have the loss. The short interest of Lucid has been significant over the past few months. It means that more and more investors have been betting against the company's stock by short selling it. Short sellers borrow shares of the stock and then sell them in the market, hoping to buy them back later, profiting from the difference. As of the recent data, short interest in Lucid represents 7.5% of the company's total shares outstanding. This is a moderate level of short interest, but significant nonetheless. It is important to note that the short interest is not a guarantee for a short squeeze, but it's still a very important metric to monitor, because this can tell us what is the current sentiment or the vibe about a stock. It's also worth noting that short sellers very often have actual valid reasons for their bearish sentiment, and that a short squeeze, no matter how likely it seems to be on paper, may never happen. Overall, my recommendation regarding Lucid is to hold your stock if you haven't sold. And if you want to buy more, please keep in mind that right now people are euphoric, and this is an excellent opportunity to make some quick gains from this volatility. With that being said, I should also caution against an overload of optimism here either, because there is a possibility that over the next few weeks, this rumor will be confirmed, and by then, people will choose to sell the stock instead. This won't necessarily be a great news for people who are left holding the bag by then. And also, remember that it's not because there's a rumor for buyout or there's even like a concrete proposal for buyout that the price is necessarily going to be great. These are like the considerations that we need to keep in the back of our head when buying Lucid. Personally, I would recommend to buy Lucid and to keep the exposure between 3 to 5% of your portfolio and to spread it over the next week.